Hi everybody, Russ from My Amers 11. Hope you are safe and well. That's all that's important at the moment. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you may know of any time we put new content on. And there's plenty of content on there. If you've run out of Netflix and stuff to watch until mid-February, whenever we're locked down, there's plenty of episodes on there. As always, we'd like to thank our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. Today's guest, who runs the Irons Photoshop Twitter feed, which is brilliant. Loads of fantastic old pictures of West Ham, as well as videos and things like that. It's Dean. How are you, Mr. Dean?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm having a great evening. It's nice
Brilliant.
to be here, actually.
Yeah,
We're going to have a good chat.
we will do. We will do. It's the one sort of Zoom call that everyone doesn't mind taking nowadays. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's the first time I've done one.
Well, there you go. So it's your debut.
Yeah, so, I mean, I set up Irons Photoshop last year. When I was coming back from Tottenham, when we, I think it was when we lost 3-2.
Yeah.
And I just felt a bit disillusioned with it all. And I had a big selection of photographs that I've had for years. And I thought I'd put them together. I was putting them on another way. I was putting them on Long Live the Boleyn with Neil.
Yeah.
I thought, well, people were saying to me, well, you've got such a good collection of photos, you might as well do it yourself.
Sure.
And I thought I'd lost, I don't know, I was walking back from the game and I was heading to the station and I just thought, it's really difficult because I grew up on the South Bank, me.
Yeah.
I mean, I started going over there when I was probably about 8 years old. And I just thought, is this the West Ham that I know and grew up with?
Sure.
And that's how it all started. And obviously it's grown to what it is. And, yeah, so I get a lot of good feedback. I've got some real characters. I've got ex-players, family on there that I talk to. Some people that obviously that, you know, I got for, that I sang their names on the South Bank.
Yeah.
Do you see? Yeah, and I've got their
I know how you feel. Yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
And I'll send them photos.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be, you know, I'd never thought I'd get to that stuff.
Mental, isn't it? It's mental when you get to that, when it's like, I'm exactly the same as you, mate. You know, it's like, I mean, we started this in April, May, we started doing this.
Yeah.
And now it's like the other day, I put my phone into my car and it comes up with the CarPlay, you know, because that's how we roll on my there. So it comes up with the CarPlay and it's got like the last people you've texted and called, and it's like, fucking hell, if you remember, if I could like take a screenshot and tell myself 15 years ago, 20 years ago that these people I'm texting and phoning, it's mental. It's the same with you. You said the people you're talking to and you sang their name on the South Bank and now you're sending them photos, and you know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's a crazy world we live in at the moment, isn't it? It's really bizarre.
Yeah. I started off on the west side.
Yeah.
With my dad. He took me to my first game when I was probably, it was standing west side. It was an evening game and it was under the lights.
Yeah.
And that was probably about 78, 79.
Brilliant.
So I went over there with him because obviously I wasn't old enough to go over there on my own. So and it was just that, it was a turning point in West Ham's, when John Lyall went from 75 onwards, and you got to that period of like 77, 78, 79 relegation, you know, we're in the dog. John Lyall made the decision to change the side, bring in new players, get out with the old. And that was that was when I started going West Ham. That was the turning point of a really good side.
Yeah.
If I've got to pick two sides that I would say are all-time great sides for me, it would definitely be 81, the 81 side, and the 85, 86.
Yeah.
There have been other good sides that are good players that have come along since, but if I was to go and say my two sides, so 80, let's talk about the 81. I mean, John, you know, if you're going back to say the 81 season,
yeah,
when it'd be 40 years this year.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
that we got the second division title. We went to the League Cup final. We lost against the great Liverpool side.
Mm.
And then you've got the league, we won the Division 2 title on a record number of points.
Mm.
If you're looking back on that, if I'm going to do an greatest West Ham side, I would say 6 or 7 of them players that I'll pick tonight with you will probably be in it.
Yeah, of course.
If not more.
Yeah.
Good memories and a really good side. I mean, when we was in the second division and we come up against Liverpool, they were European champions.
Yeah.
The good side, they'd already won it, I think, twice or 3 times. And we held them at Wembley, 1-1. And then obviously we went to Villa Park and lost.
That's the replay, yeah.
But that was a good side, that was.
Yeah.
And that's where my heroes, John Lyall come along, revamped the side, and that side up until 86, 87 is probably my most memorable time as a West. I've had other times.
Yeah, of course.
Some people might not agree with this, but when I saw Pike for the first time, when I watched him, he was one of the only players to get me off my seat.
Yep.
In the last, God knows what, 15, 20 years.
Going
West Ham.
Yeah.
From, watching Devonshire.
Sure.
And then Pike come along and I thought, blimey, what a player he was.
Yeah.
And in between, we've had some great signings and we've had some rubbish ones, and we've lost some good players, and we've gained a few. We're West Ham. It's been like that for 40 odd. What's that? I'm 51 now, so you're talking about 43 years of supporting them.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look back at it, isn't it? It's like I was interviewing someone the other day, and we spoke about. He went, oh yeah, and there was that, the moment with David Martin and Alvin Martin. That was last year. I was like, last year? That seems like 3 or 4 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's like the whole world in terms of time.
That was a good away day. That was.
It was a great away day, but it's like I can't believe it was that long ago. It was that soon ago. It's like last year seems like a complete. Like 4 or 5 years ago, because everything's changed the last year, and it's mental when you think about that. I mean, last season we started the season with Pellegrini. Do you know what I mean? It's like what happened?
I think there was a part. I think there was one game. I forget what it was now. We could have gone third.
Yeah.
And typical West Ham. The keeper Fab gets injured. We put in a replacement. And then we dropped like a stone, and there was times when I thought we was going to go down. I thought, I really don't fancy the London Stadium.
Yep.
People said, but if we go down, it's going to be more competitive. But I thought, hold on a minute, like we're not in Upton Park anymore. If we was to go down in Upton Park, you'd have the crowd behind, and over that stadium with about 20,000 in it, I thought it would kill it. And I was frightened at one point.
It's one of those things as well. I mean, you spoke about that obviously 81 squad and being in the championship, or in essence the championship, and some good times. And actually, when you look back at it, I think, obviously the season, the 2011-2012 season in the championship, and a couple of years, and you see 02, 03, 03, 04, whatever it was. We had 2 seasons, didn't we? We went to the playoff finals and lost the first one. Good time, it's like it was like it's we were so used to not beating teams in the Premier League. When you go to the Championship and you start beating teams and go to these different grounds, and you're not always going to Tottenham, you're going to Millwall and stuff, and it's there is something about it. There is something about it. I know it's we don't want to be in that division, but sometimes when we are in that division, we have a good time. We we win more than we lose, which is nice for a change, isn't it?
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
But not this season, Dean.
Well,
this season, what's going on?
You couldn't have. Well, I mean, the first game of the season, what, Newcastle, was it?
Yeah.
And I thought, here we go.
I think everyone did.
Here we go. And it's funny because obviously I haven't been to a game since Southampton.
Yeah, exactly.
I
you wouldn't
go
have been.
over there every week. I go
away
at home. But I think Southampton at home was the last.
Yeah.
match I actually watched at the ground. You know, I renewed my season ticket, but I haven't been.
Yeah, of course.
I'm watching it on telly like everyone else.
Yeah.
And he's bought, you know, I don't know if it's David Sullivan signings or it's David Moyes', but the Czech boys, brilliant. And you know, the realization is if you're playing Declan Rice with Soucek, I think that's a great combination to let the others roam free. You know, if you're going to play like Soucek and Rice, they just suit each other's game.
They do,
and they're good players. Brilliant find. I mean, unbelievable find if you think about it.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know how much we paid for Soucek, but
I think we paid. I think no more than that. I think it's about £16 million for him, and you know, he's cheap. He was cheaper than Bowen. Really, Bowen was 17.
You know, and now I mean, he gets forward. He's good in the air. He's got a bit of everything. You know, he can drop back when Rice goes forward. He's always in the box. I mean, you know, you could have put him up front and he would have probably scored more goals than Haller. But,
well, for the price of Haller, you can buy you know, for the price we paid for Haller, you'd have bought Bowen, Soucek, and Coufal, and you would have changed for the bus ride home. So, you know, it's
modern football.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy when you think about that. I mean, I think particularly with Soucek and Coufal, Coufal, that's how he pronounces it. You've got it's an untapped resource, that Czech league, by the looks of it, because like we're looking at other ones and it's like, you know, they just seem to be like, it must be just the mentality, their workman-like mentality. They just like literally put a shift in all game, don't they? They try all game.
I mean, you got to think about that. You know, like we us as supporters, we sit there and we go, you know, it's a waste of money. But when you start talking like, say, Anderson, 38 million or whatever we paid for, and then you're talking about his wages, his contract, 5-year contract at, I don't know, 100 grand a week. Start adding it all up, and it's a bit. I mean, we have a moan at Sullivan and Gold, and I'm fully, you know, I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah, sure, I understand.
But it's a lot of money. It's right for us in the stands to sit there and say, you know, like, well, get rid of him. But you're talking about a 40-50 million pound layout.
Exactly.
I don't know, you know, when Pellegrini come in and Sullivan opened up the checkbook, you know, we had Anderson, we had Haller come along for 40 million. I would have preferred Gomez, by the way.
I think everyone would have done. And actually, in hindsight, it's one of those great sort of sliding doors moments, I think, because I think Gomez, you know, like where we struggle when Antonio is not around, he would have been a perfect...
different type of player. I don't know why we went for it. I mean,
it's different, because they are completely different. Gomez is a little short bloke, little stumpy guy. Yeah. Haller's like really tall. It was almost like, oh, well, we'll get him. It was like, I think we, you know, but
Gomez's play to feet. I thought Haller would be a bit more in the air, but it turned out that, you know, whether he played with Josic or whatever his name is, you know, 2 up front for Frankfurt. Either way, it didn't work out.
No.
I mean, Gomez went to Valencia because he probably had Champions League football.
Yeah.
So we needed a striker. I mean, I think we're in a predicament at the minute because as much as I love Antonio, he's great to watch live. And if his hamstring goes, who are we going to have up front? That's the thing.
I mean, that's the thing. I think Gonzo said it in his video the other day I was watching, and he was saying that you know, it's great that Antonio signed a 3-year contract, which is brilliant, but he ain't going to play every game in the next 3 years.
You're dreading his hamstring game because this is the thing about West Ham. It's like when you go back to last year when we could have gone third, and the goalkeeper gets injured, Fabianski, brilliant, you know.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant that season, and then we put, you know, that what's his name in goal. We dropped, and it's like deja vu. It's like I'm sitting there now and I'm thinking, right, okay, I'll give Moyes, because I think Moyes deserves a chance.
Me too.
You know, I back him 100%.
Yeah,
let him get the striker in that we need, but you're sitting there thinking, well, if Antonio plays up front, you know, and you're dreading his hamstring going.
You are, yeah.
And who are you going to put up front? Yarmolenko? I think, you know, we need to buy a striker. I like the guy from RB Leipzig.
Yeah, is it the guy from is it RB Salt? Is it RB Salzburg or something?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, they're not stupid. Moyes knows that we need a striker.
Yeah.
And the disappointing thing, if it will become a disappointment, is I said this on Twitter the other month. Haller, myself personally, would cost us more points than we gained. He'll score the odd wonder goal, what he did. He scored the odd wonder goal. I watched him live. First time I see him live was at Watford, and he didn't do nothing. Watford away. Antonio comes on. He runs on. He plays from the right. And he set him up for 2 goals. And it was like, he looked like he loves it to feet in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, he did.
Not much else.
I
thought,
I think,
hold on a minute, 6 foot so tall.
Exactly.
You're not doing nothing in the air. You don't run into the space. He was just like he was like a £40 million lamppost, which is what I called him, which a couple of people laughed about. He certainly weren't David Cross, was he?
No, Crossy. But I think with Haller, I think he was a good, and because as you said, you saw glimpses. There was glimpses of class there, and it's like I think he was a better reaction player. So the ball just falls to him, and he does something, and it was quite good. When he had time to think, I always remember like that Man United game this season where he slips over, and it's like. But I think that's the same as someone like Antonio. I think if Antonio overthinks it, Antonio's quite a reactive player as well, and he doesn't really know what he's going to do next. So how does a defender against him? This is great because it just means we're excited. We don't know he's going to go left; it's going to go right. You know, so I think he was exactly so. And it would just, or if not, it would just run through someone. You know, run through a defender like a bulldozer. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we've got a few weeks, and we've got a run of home games now. Although it makes no difference if you're home and away at the moment. To be honest,
no, it don't, does it?
Nah, but it's it's typical West Ham, isn't it? That he's found this sort of team, found this run, found this work ethic, and there's no fans to applaud it. Do you know what I mean? It's so West Ham, isn't it? It's so West Ham.
Yeah, it is so West Ham. I said to someone, if we get to Wembley, I'll turn up as a cleaner if there's no one. Because I said I'll turn up as a cleaner to get in there if we get to Wembley. Because since '80. But I mean, obviously Gerrard. That I don't want to talk about that too much. But as soon as he smashed that one at Wembley, at Cardiff, I just thought that's going in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seconds from another cup. Something that I could savour more as an adult.
Yes.
And then,
cool. Yeah. Totally.
So it was. Well, I would love a trip to Wembley. Obviously, we got Doncaster next.
Yeah.
And then it's on to
probably Liverpool.
Well, hopefully a big one against United or
Liverpool, yeah. And the way it works at the moment, I mean, it's people go, oh God, typical. Oh, we got Liverpool, we got Man United. We were unlucky against Man United, to be honest. We should have turned them over easily at London Stadium. We had about 20 shots, didn't we? 20 chances. We just couldn't bury it. And by then, we're in February. I think it's the 8th of February or something like that. We were playing if we get through Doncaster.
Yeah.
And
is it a home time?
It's away. We're away to Man U, so we've got. So I think
Liverpool really. I think United we could do. Mind you, when I went to Liverpool last season, we were winning up until about 20 ago. That was a good. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some great Liverpool sides, but
sure.
Last year, when we went to the night game Monday night, I think we was winning with about 15 goals.
Yeah.
And I think they went up a level.
They just turned it on when they wanted to, and it as a mark of a good side. I fancy us against any club in the Premier League in a one-match game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
one match scenario,
We've done
I
it.
fancy anyone. And I think with everything that's happening in the world at the moment, in terms of obviously COVID, and I mean, you saw like us, obviously the FA Cup tie on last weekend with Villa, and Villa had to put their kids out because God, God forbid anything happens, but you never know what's going to happen nowadays. Man U could, or Liverpool could have or we all could have all of our squad, and it's our youth team against Liverpool's youth team. We've got a good youth team, so I'd fancy it. So you never know.
Yeah, well, the rumblings have started about the circuit break.
Circuit break. I know is it the rugby? The rugby's been called off now. So, and I know Scottish
coming down again. So
we'll see. Typical West Ham again, isn't it? It's like, as you said, the last game you saw live was Southampton. 3-1. I think it was 3-1, 3-1, 2-1.
Yeah, Bowen scored, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And Haller and Antonio were playing fantastic as a top two, and we were playing really, really good. And then we don't, and that's it. Okay, well, that's it. You don't play for 100 days.
We was all waiting for what I think it was all waiting. Wolves was the next game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
At home, and then that was it. That's the last time I've been.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
Especially someone like you, as you said, 40-odd years a fan, and to see you get older, haven't missed any games, and then to be like, I think I worked it out. I think we've had something like 15 or 16 home games behind closed doors. Obviously, I'm fortunate enough that I'm working there, so I still have to. So I get to see it, but it doesn't make no difference. But still, it's weird, isn't it? And as you said, you watch it at home, you probably get a better view at home.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But it's not necessary. It's not about the TV. It's not about watching the game. It's about, as you said, that sort of the journey there, going to the pub, going to the supporters clubs or the boats or whatever. That's what I think people miss. And I think
being with the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Football is great. It's great. I sit with some great people over there. And it's all the camaraderie, having a pint, having a chat. Your best 11, tactics. We're all good managers. But that's part of the experience, isn't it?
And I think that's part of being a West Ham fan as well. You said, 41 years we've won bugger all apart from the Intertoto Cup, and the odd Betway Cup, but only we would invent a cup which we never win. But anyway, and we get every year we get to the final though.
Arsenal did that, wasn't it?
Yes, they did with the Emirates Cup, wasn't it? They'd always lose the Emirates Cup, bless them. But we still turn up in our droves, and as you said, you still have at London Stadium or Upton Park. It's mental, isn't it? And I'm very privileged in that I've been interviewing fans all over the world now because of this, and it's weird. Obviously, you're a Londoner. You're born from around the corner, I'd imagine, by the sounds of your stories.
I was born in Dagenham.
Yeah.
But
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I mean. I'm in Hornchurch, so yeah.
Grew up in Elm Park. For us, it was down the district line.
Yeah.
Elm Park, straight through. 7 stops to Upton Park?
Yeah, about that. It takes forever.
And our area, obviously, Essex, East London, like all our area, Hornchurch, we're all West Ham.
Yeah.
It's always been a catchment area.
Yeah.
And you get 50,000 over there every game. It's always a full house.
Yeah.
And we're harsh critics, us Hammers, aren't we? You know what we're like.
We are, yeah. And that's the thing about the. Go on.
Sorry, if you wear that shirt, if you wear that with heart, we'll back you 100%. It's been like that since I stood on the, whether I was on the South Bank, whether I was on the Chicken Run, whatever stand I stood on or sat down at, I finished on the west side at the end. And if you wore that shirt with pride, that's all we wanted.
Yeah.
And it's hard as an older supporter to see these young ones on £100,000 a week running around.
Of course.
When we see that, when we signed Devonshire in the late 70s for £5,000 from Southall.
Yeah.
And he was running around on a mud bath getting kicked to fuck, basically.
Yeah.
And Alvin Martin, Bobby Moore, whatever, as we get through the players that are heroes to me. They done it for patents, technically. They probably done it for a testimonial. Yeah. And at the end, you get your bit of money, you put it into your business or a roofing. You know what they were like. I run a pub or whatever. Yeah. Now you've got like Anderson. I see glimpses of genius with him.
Yeah.
But not enough.
No.
I think I watched him at Norwich. Do you remember the Norwich game at home?
Yes, I do.
When we beat them 2 or 3-0 at the London Stadium.
Mm.
And that was probably one of the best games I've seen Anderson play. Felipe Anderson. And I thought, you're running around, you're on 120 grand a week or whatever you're on, and I've got to accept, this is modern football. This is how it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to accept when you watch the players from the past and then you watch it. You've got to come to sort of but this is the modern game. Well, sometimes the modern game is not.
It's true.
But
it's
my
true.
love for West Ham, my love for the Hammers is so that I'll still go.
Transcend it,
every week. I still get that buzz,
Of course you do.
When I come out of Stratford Tube, I still get that feeling that I got when I first see the floodlights up. I said that on Twitter recently. When I first walked out with my old man and I see the floodlights at Upton Park.
Sure.
That was the best feeling in the world, them lights. And I said, someone said, yeah, but you've been going for 40 odd years. And it's like, I still get that buzz. Even though we're at Stratford and it's that long, treacherous walk, I've still got it.
Yeah,
I haven't lost
it's true.
it. A lot of my friends have, if you speak to some of the old guard, they won't go over the new stadium.
Yeah, fair enough.
Their choice, But for that 90 minutes of watching the West Ham, that's it. I still go.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? It's like I totally agree with your. Modern football is different. It's a different era now we live in terms of modern football. No disrespect to current footballers now, but one thing obviously we've been fortunate to interview, and this is you obviously interact a lot with the ex-players. I've been very fortunate to interview lots of the ex-players, and just the personalities and the stories, and you could just relate to them. And it's no criticism of someone like Felipe Anderson or anything like that, but I could walk into, I don't know, when we used to go to pubs. I remember that once, and I walk into the New Inn in Gideon Park, and you could you could imagine, I don't know, Alvy Martin being at the bar. So Alvy wouldn't be from Church, but I mean, he'd be at the bar, or Juliet. I wouldn't imagine, Felipe Anderson with a pint of mild at the bar. Do you know what I mean? And you could relate to them, and the stories. Obviously, we've had people like obviously like Bish and Monks and God knows everyone. And it seems
it was one of us.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They were relatable, and also they stayed because modern footballers, they go, if you get 3 years out of a player, you've done well. When we had Gailey said that every year that he was at the club, bar 1 year, was a testimonial year for a player.
Yeah.
So you got to know him. You got to know them, and you could relate to them, and even people like Trevor Sinclair, he was there for like 5 or 6 years. He still had this sort of association with the club, which is still evident today. Someone like Haller, obviously he was only around for how long he was around for.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine I don't know 20 years later going to the Queen's Theatre and watching a Hammers Heroes with Felipe Anderson and Haller.
I see Machiavelli once.
Yeah,
I was having a wimpy in the Elm Church.
Still there.
It's still there.
It's still there.
And him and Jenny Blythe walked in. we was having a burger, and that's how it used to be. You used to see it all the time. Obviously, Tony Adams and what's his name? Ray Parlour. They used to drink in the Checkers, I think.
Yeah, well, they all did. I mean, I used to live in Loughton before I moved to Hornchurch. I moved to Romford, then Hornchurch, and Loughton was a hotbed of them. And and I used to work at the Safeways in Loughton, and on a Friday, Shaka Hislop would come and do his Friday Big Shop. So Shaka would come and do his Friday Big Shop at Safeways or Samasi Abu, or you bump into them. Nowadays, they all
in their sponsored car.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Ludo in his Skoda. But I remember we interviewed him. Who did we interview? I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mad Dog. I was talking to Mad Dog, and his one was was Alan Ford on the roundabout in Romford, and once a month he would get a phone call from Alan Ford to hear there was a complaint about Mad Dog's driving, and someone phoned because he said Mad Dog is sponsored by Alan Ford, so they just phoned Alan Ford to complain about Mad Dog's driving. But that was part and parcel of being a West Ham fan, wasn't it? It was the experience with the players. And
did you ever see the photo of Tony Cottee when he won the young player thing?
Yes, yeah, I've seen a picture of him when he won
Fiat Uno.
Yeah,
outside the gates. I mean,
brilliant, isn't it? I love stuff like that.
Come on, even he said. I asked him about that once, and he said, like, "Oh my gosh, But don't you think they were great days? I mean,
yeah.
When McAvenny done a tweet thing, I said it was I don't know who it was. I asked him about John Lyle.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with him, and John Lyle picked him up from the airport, didn't he?
Did.
Right? So when he signed, he picked him up at Heathrow, and John said, "Well, where do you want to go?" And he went, "Well, the West End."
Yeah, he drove him around London.
Drove him around London. So I asked McAvenny, and he said, "Yeah. He picked me up at Heathrow, and we was going around the West End."
And he said, exactly. And he said to him, because I asked, because he told me that all the story, and he said to John, he went, "John, you shouldn't have, because all the flags were out, because it was like the Queen had a possession or something." Yeah, they're driving down the Mall, and he went, "John, you should have laid all this on for me," And it's like, but I love it there. And the story was obviously because he was going to sign for Luton, weren't he?
Yeah.
And the chairman at the time, the Luton chairman, slapped him on the back when he was signing the contract. And he went, "Who's that?" And he went, "That's the chairman." He goes, "I'm not fucking staying. I'm not going to Luton now." And then just a little bit like that. And then I think it was John jumps on a plane, flies to Scotland, and basically flies, and says, "Look, I want." And then he flew back, and then he came back down the next day. And we've had people like who was the one that made me Stuart Slater. So we had Slates on. And Slates, from the age of 14, had Ray Stewart going to hit every Sunday league game that he played as a kid because the club wanted him as a player. And that as a youngster, because, like Ray Stewart, is like turning up to every one of your games. Honestly, the level that John Lyle went to, there was another one. Oh, there was another one. I can't remember. It's going to really annoy me now. It's another ex-player I interviewed. And, it's going to come to me. Tom McAllister. That was it. Yeah. Tom McAllister. So he's talking about Tom McAllister, and he and John Lyle. I'm pretty sure it was Tom. John basically said these are he'd already agreed to basically join without actually agreeing any terms because he wanted to go to West Ham so much. And John was like, "Yeah, how much am I going to be on? Oh, you're going to be on this much. Yeah. We'll go and sign. We'll come into my car. We'll sign the contract." So he goes into the car, and the contract is completely blank. Completely blank.
Yeah.
Nothing about his terms or anything. And he went, "Mr. Lyle, it's all blank." He went, "Yeah, just sign it. You trust me, don't you?" And he went, "Okay." And so he signed a blank contract, and then John filled it in all properly afterwards. But he was an incredible man. It's the stories were just immense in terms of that.
I would. He used to go to Ajax a lot. He used to go over to Holland as well.
Sure.
I was talking to one of his family who's on my group thing, and we was having a chat, and he used to love Dutch football as well, John Lyle.
Interesting.
He used to go over Ireland quite a lot to watch games and get that, the tactical awareness and stuff. But it's funny because he didn't buy many. He used to love being in Scotland. He used to love buying. Yeah. He was up in Scotland a lot, obviously because his family is Scottish. And obviously we had some great Scottish players that come through at the time. We had a few duds, but generally speaking, I mean, he'll always be my hero, John Lyle.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do like my all-time heroes, I sung his name on What's the Manager? Probably, some of the and the players that he brought in at the time. If I was to start off with, like, if I'm going to do my best 11 for you, Phil Parkes, number one.
Yeah. Let's start. Let's do it because we'll do it because I don't want you to repeat yourself.
Number
anymore.
one, bought in 1979 from QPR. I don't know how he done it because at the time he was such a great goalkeeper.
Yeah.
For QPR, and suddenly West Ham have bought a player. Who is it? Oh, we bought Phil Parks. Whoa. 500 and what was it? 500 and
something like world record.
I think it was £565,000.
Mental, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would say he was the. I've seen. Fabianski ain't a bad goalkeeper, but Phil Parks, number one.
Yeah.
He would definitely be. I mean, what's a keeper? If you're looking at games, the West Bromwich Albion game for the cup run in 1980 for about 75 minutes, he was just non-stop.
Yeah.
Best keeper without doubt. Ludo second, but if I was to pick my goalkeeper, it would be number one, Phil Parks.
Yeah. And obviously he turned 70, didn't he, in the summer?
He did. A few of them turned 70. Crossy turned 70.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He's a great bloke. He comes and has a chat every now and again.
Yeah, he's great on Twitter, isn't he, Crossy? We've had him on. Yeah, I love him. and he never remembers, I don't know if he might just delete my text after I text him, but he never remembers to save my number. So I text, like, it was his birthday. I was like, happy birthday, Mr. Cross. Yeah. He went, don't be so formal. Because I put three hammers. Who the hell is this? Saying West Ham, then it could be one of 30,000 people or something like that. I was like, it's Raspberry Russ. He went, oh, Russ, how you doing? Because when I interviewed him, my wife handed me an ice cream randomly, like during the interview, and so he calls me Raspberry because he said she's got some raspberry sauce in it. But yeah, no, he's a top.
Would you have him in as your number one?
I wasn't around to see because basically for the Hammers 11, I like to. The only thing I say is you have to be sort of alive to have seen them play or been around. So for me, I never saw. I started going promotion season the 92 promotion season.
Yeah.
So for me, it's actually Fabianski. For me, it was Fabianski as a goalkeeper. Ludo was Ludo. Great keepers. A lot of them have been on the channel. We've done quite well with goalkeepers. I was a big fan of Xhaka.
Yeah,
Rob Green was immense. We've had Jimmy Walker, and yes, we've had, apart from probably about 6 months last season, we've had some good keepers.
Yeah,
we've always done all right with goalkeepers. Yeah. Even Adrian was an okay keeper, wasn't he? In terms of not great, but he was all right.
He's done the job.
He'd done a job. And we had those, didn't we? We had like keepers who did jobs for us. So
Rob Green was a good keeper, though.
He was a strong keeper. But after he left, we had even before that, obviously we had like people like Jussi Jääskeläinen. He did the job for us, didn't he? Really, wouldn't say he was outstanding, but he did a job. Because before Robert Green, after Ludo, before Xhaka, we had like a succession of like lone keepers. We had Bernard Lama and it never really had a decent keeper until really sort of maybe Shax came along, bless him. But we've had even Stephen Bywater. I love Stephen Bywater.
He got Diop. I mean, if you're talking you said Fabianski, I'll tell you what, he saved Diop.
Oh yeah. I
didn't really, when I started watching Diop, he had some great. He was good. When I first see him that season last year.
Yeah.
When Fabs won Player of the Year, didn't he? Was it last season?
Year before last, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
What saves he done?
Yeah.
Obviously Oggy's really flying at the minute. I don't know what's happened to him. He's gone really. There was times when I thought, well, let's get rid of him.
Yeah.
Diop, I thought was overrated. If it's like for 60 mil, I said we'll take it.
Yeah.
Because his positional sense and this, that, and the other, he kept making so many mistakes. And if it weren't for Fabianski, he probably would have let in a lot. We would have probably lost a lot of them games. But for me, as much as I like Fabianski,
it's Parks for you, yeah.
Parks is number one.
And also, D. I think the thing is, I think with your favourite players and things like that.
Yeah.
Someone once said to me that your favourite type of music and your favourite songs was when you were a teenager, And I think that's true with football as well. And as you said, you've been talking about the types of your greatest memories, and it's probably when you was coming into your teenage years, and so you were going to the grounds more on your own and stuff like that. And obviously we were quite successful as well, which does help. But it's the same as me. My sort of teenage years are the players that I love the most. So it is, I was a little bit younger than you, only a little bit younger. But for me, it is like people like Steve Potts. It was people like Trevor Morley, Ian Bishop. I mean, Pete Butler was the first ever player I met. So he's like my, I've interviewed lots of players. He was brilliant. He was
a good player, Pottsy.
He was great. And
very versatile player.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some great players, and as you said, we had some great teams, and then we've had in between them some great players, not necessarily in great teams.
I'm gonna throw in at my left. I'm gonna go. It's an hard one because when I've done the poll thing the other week, Dixie come out on the left side.
Oh, that poll, that was a clever idea by them, wasn't it?
But me personally, I'm gonna go Tonka.
Nice. Yep.
He'll definitely be on the left hand side. Dixie would run him a very, very close second because I love Dixie. He played with passion, but Ray Stewart for me, 100%. FA Cup winner. And I think if I'm right, the season that we became Division 2 champions, which is 40 years ago, I think he played, him, Jeff Pike, was picked every single week by John. It was only a few injuries here and there that Ray Stewart didn't play. And he wasn't just a penalty taker. People say, but he was a brilliant, but he was a good defender as well.
Yeah.
And you was coming up against some great players in them days. You think you're going back to around the 80s, 81s. We were European champions every other year. He was coming up against the Dalgliches and everything. People don't realise that. They think, he took a good penalty. But we was in, if you talk like Forest 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, up until Heysel, we was winning European trophies.
Sure.
And the Division 1 there was some great players. So I'm going to put him in as my left back. The two in the middle, I'll go Alvin Martin.
Yep.
Bobby Moore.
Alvin Martin and Bobby. That's not a bad pairing.
I cannot put, even though I didn't see him play, I cannot have, I could have put Tony Gale and Alvin Martin. They were both great in my eyes. I could have put Rio in there next to Stretch, but it's going to be definitely more Martin, more captain.
Sounds good. Good.
On the other side, Frank Lampard Senior. Yeah, 100%.
See, that's someone I think, and again during these, we've had over 250 people we've interviewed and stuff, and it's clear to me that there needs to be a job in terms of recognising Lampard Senior. Do you know what I mean? In the same way that we finally recognised Billy Bonds, giving him a stand, and obviously Trev and Bobby Moore. But he's you look at obviously the league appearances and stuff like that. If you talk about a West Ham man, he is, and obviously
he played his whole career.
Exactly, and everything that happened, obviously, with Harry and Junior, has tainted that, and it's a real shame because the amount, we talk about people fighting for the badge, playing for the badge. Obviously, I never saw him play live, but I've watched a lot of highlights, a lot of old games, and he was ferocious, and he would put it in every game. Do you know what I mean? It's a shame that he's not given that level of, that he should be in that sort of, discussion when you talk about Bonzo and stuff like that, because he, the amount of games he played more than anything, and he's a FA Cup winner. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's not many of them around nowadays. But he seems to be forgotten.
Made a little mistake in '76 in the final, but he was a good servant for us.
He was.
Obviously, because of his son and whatever went on, obviously you can't blame, if his son, the abuse his son got. for whatever reason, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people, but let's on a pure football basis.
Sure.
One of the best right backs we've ever had at that club.
Yeah.
Without doubt.
Mm.
And he, you know, so it would be Park, Stewart, Moore, Martin Moore, Frank Lampard Senior.
Nice.
When you start getting into the midfield, first name out the hat. The first one up when I was a schoolboy, I went to Abs Cross, which is in Hornchurch. Yeah,
I know it well.
Live in Hornchurch. I went Abs
No.
Cross. My year at school, we were the best schoolboy side in the country, and if you played out of Essex then, which I did, there was a few clubs, EMH, Pegasus.
Yeah.
I played for Romford as a kid, Romford Juniors, and then EMH, Pegasus, Hornchurch Wasps.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, they were the best sides, like around that bit of Essex. When you started getting more further on, I think it was Killer Hawks and sides like Sarah, and that is if you was going to get scattered and go on. But we was winning everything as kids.
Yeah.
My hero as a kid was Alan Devonshire.
Yeah.
So, without doubt, on the left-hand side of my side, so as a kid, I wanted to be Alan Devonshire. That was the first one. He was a gangly winner. He probably weighed about 10 stone in his socks. Bought for £5,000 from Southall. Come into that side. What a player! Probably the best player I've ever witnessed over there. I stood on the South Bank watching him most of the time, but I sneaked in the chicken run a few times because my brother used to get me through the gate. Because my brother used to stand at the bar in the North Bank, and if someone like Chelsea or Tottenham or whatever, they'd take the old South Bank.
Yeah.
So all us who stood on the South Bank, we'd all fit in somewhere else. We'd either be on the North Bank or, you know, wherever we could. So I always used to go and meet my brother in the North Bank, and he'd always be at the bar, and he'd sneak me into the chicken run.
Brilliant.
And I'd sneak down the front, and you know what it's like. It's like you're right next to the players. You can basically grab their shirt as they run past.
Yeah.
And that was the first up close thing I watched Devonshire run the show.
Yeah.
Him and Trevor, you know, him and Brooklyn, they had that telepathic thing going on. Pike used to play a little bit behind, doing all the dirty work, give the ball to Trevor. First thing Trevor would do was look for Alan.
Yeah.
Right? Get it out to Alan. Trevor would run through, yeah. Or they're playing into, you know, if you watch the goal against Everton in the Cup replay at Ellen Road,
yeah,
the little ball that comes to Devonshire, boom, 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 and he swerves through. You think he's going to take him out right in the penalty area, and bang, it's in the back of the net, 1-0. And so Devonshire, what a great player. I mean, the injury done him, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much about his injury because obviously he didn't come. He had to change his game, his stance, and the way he ran and everything.
Yeah. Which is different, you know. Again, which is, you know, we talk about modern football.
He had to change his stance, didn't he?
We talk about modern football. You know, I always when we talk about Dev, I always talk about someone like Michael Owen. Michael Owen just was like so one-dimensional as a player.
Yeah.
If his hamstring went, that was it. He didn't have that. Where Dev recreated himself, as you said, he had to change his way he played, more tricky, less about speed, obviously, and that took some balls to do that. Some balls to do that.
Well, he come back from the injury.
Yeah.
And then obviously we went on the 85. We'll talk about a little bit like as we go through the 85-86 season where, well, you know, I mean, what a player. What a player. I mean, he played a big part in that as well. In you know, I mean, I remember being at Stamford Bridge in 86.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'll never forget that I was standing behind, I was only 15 or 16. And that was one of the best away games I've ever been. And I think I was standing in that over in the, you know, no roof terrace over there. He got the ball from about 30 yards out and curled one straight in the top corner. I think it was something like, I don't know if it was, I can't remember. It's a long time ago. If it was the second goal or the third goal out of the 4 that we scored. But he just curled one straight up and right in front of us lot as well. There must have been about 10,000 of us behind the goal. And the rest was in the shed.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So,
and also that Chelsea game as well. I mean, we moaned about the pitch at Stockport. the cup game. I mean,
Yeah.
when I interviewed Macca, he was talking about pitches. He went, "Go back and look at that 4-0, that Chelsea game, and look at that. We didn't play. It wasn't grass. It was a sandpit, and it was so. Yeah, it's just like what. But that's the thing. What the guys were doing, the technical, as you said, the ability of someone like Dev on absolute bogs of pitches. Do you know what I mean? Barama struggled the other day doing any flick, any of his usual stuff.
Carpet, see?
Yeah, exactly. They used to play the carpet,
and they don't get kicked.
Nah, that's what I liked about. That's what he had yeah. That's what I liked about the Stockport game the other day was it was a real like old-fashioned game. That's why Noble I think played quite well because it was back to like I mean I can't remember the last time I saw a sliding tackle in the Premier League. He did about 6 or 7 perfect sliding tackles. Old Nobes did the other day, and it was like a bit like the old school. And I think that was good. That hardened a few of those foreign players.
The young ones have got it too good. I mean,
they do.
You got to remember is Devonshire was playing on mud and sand, and it wasn't just that the technical ability of what he did. He'd have Souness breathing down his neck, trying to kick him up in the air, constantly. You know, players of that caliber coming along and bang, you know, McGraths and this and that. They was all trying to take him out. You know, he still had that a beautiful, as Volney said to me. He's got that. He had that beautiful gift of balance. Yeah. I see glimpses. You know, when people laughing. I see. You know, obviously, when I watch Anderson, I was so craving for Anderson. Watching little glimpses of him, and I was thinking, oh, he's got that. You know, he's got that ability to drift past people and go. But they're playing on carpets, like you said. You know, and no one can touch them.
No.
And so so he was definitely my hero as a kid, and there'll be no other player I would ever put in there in that side. Who would I put in? Right, so you got Devo on the left.
Yep.
Next would be right. So we're going to have Bonzo in there, obviously. Billy.
Obviously.
I'd play him a little bit back. I'd play him just slightly defensive midfielder, mopping up. Yeah. I used to love Jeff Pike. Yeah. Because if you know Pike, they call him the unsung hero. Exactly. And he was, you know, because if you watch the sides, he used to do all the mopping about and then just give the ball to Trevor. Yeah. But he obviously, if I'm picking my best 11, Pikey wouldn't make the team. Obviously, Bonzo would have to play that role for me in the side. So I'd have Bonzo just in there. Just doing the donkey work. Just doing the donkey work. Next to him would have to be Sir Trevor Brooking.
Sir Trevor Brooking. Of course. It would, of course. Trevor Brooking.
It'd have to be Sir Trevor, you know. What a player. You know, if you're talking about three of the midfield there, you know, Devonshire, Brooking, Bonds. I reckon 95% of all the older school fans like myself, or even the younger ones, would pick them three and someone else in their midfield.
Oh, you're right, and that's what's quite good. That's why I say I put it sort of you have to be alive to see them play. So it's a generational thing because it's like I never saw them three play. Never. I saw Bonzo managers, but I never saw him play for it. Yeah. So I could have been sneaky, but I didn't. And it's funny what you say about that sort of unsung hero as well, like Pikey and stuff like that. You know, every generation has got one. So we go back to like the 90s when I've interviewed Mad Dog, Keane, you know, all those people who played that era, they all put Pete Butler in the team. Yeah, for that exact same reason. From a professional perspective, all like from the mid sort of early 2000s, you know, it's people like Konchesky, Luke Chadwick, all people like they all put Hayden Mullins in their team. Yeah, it's the same. Is that and it's funny, isn't it? As you said, he's the unsung hero. And Pike, Pike, when we interviewed him, called himself the unsung hero. And I was like, well, you can't be the unsung hero if you know you're the unsung hero, Pikes. But yeah, he got away with that. I let him that one. But yeah, you're right. So those three sort of pick themselves for people in your era, basically, aren't they? There's not really any debate. If you've seen them, then they're the best. The best.
Absolutely. I mean, Trevor Brooking, what a player.
Yeah.
I was too young for Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yeah.
I didn't, obviously I talked to the older boys and that, and they say, it's the best ever game that they'd ever seen. And, Trevor Brooking would definitely, obviously be in my side. The right midfield would be a bit of a debate, but because I would like to put Pyatt in the side. I know there's a bit of a controversy. I won't put him in the side. The last place in midfield would be Martin Peters. So that would be my four in the midfield would be Trevor, Billy, Dev on the left, Martin Peters. Didn't see him play, but I've read I've got some books here that I read on West Ham's history and stuff like that, and I've seen him in videos. Obviously, I haven't seen him live, or that would be my four in midfield.
Yep.
I've seen some great, players play in that position on the right hand side, but that would probably be my four.
Yeah.
Running in the midfield.
And it's funny you say about Pyatt, and you say that thing about Pyatt, but he's, we've obviously interviewed lots of different people, and
he was a great player.
It was and that's the thing. I think something like he's been picked. I think he's basically been picked about 40%. 40% of people have picked Pyatt we've interviewed, and every one of them has said people are going to hate me, but I'm going to put Dimitri Pyatt in. Why? He was, as you said, in terms of a player, he was the best player I've, technically the best player I've ever seen at West Ham.
Yeah,
just for me, not the best player, because I think there's a difference between being a great player and a great technical player, because you need that passion. I don't think Pyatt had that passion, but he was, there's not many times you're going to see a Ballon d'Or nominee in your team.
That's the season, the last season. Was it the last season at Upton Park?
Yeah.
What a season! I mean, that goal he scored at I think it was Old Trafford.
Big free kick from Old Trafford.
He just got that free kick and he just went bang. And I'll tell you what, that was probably one of the best free kicks I'd ever seen in my life. The way he curled that and with technique, speed, the way it swerved in, it just banged, top corner, unbelievable goal.
Yeah.
The only player I've Joe Cole had glimpses at the beginning and, like brilliant skill as a kid and all that stuff. But, Pyatt for me, I'd have to put him on the bench though.
Yeah.
Just he's got to fit in there somewhere. I don't think you'll knock Peters off just because of the 64 side, the 65 side, FA Cup winners, European Cup winners, 64, 65. Peters grabs it. Yeah. I mean, if you're talking like just for the period of that time in the 60s. He was doing it consistently in that little period. Pyatt had a great season, don't get me wrong, brilliant to watch, but I couldn't put him in front of Peters.
No.
So he gets the right-hand side. So that would make up my midfield.
Sure, yeah. Strikers
is going to be a bit of a...
Who are we going to put in? Franco and Di Michele? Ilian.
Right, I'm gonna give you 4 strikers, and I'm gonna pick 2 of them. Right, it's gonna be McAvenny.
Yeah.
Cotty.
Yeah.
Pop Robson.
Yes.
See, Crossy's going to probably get the ump with me. I think Crossy was a brilliant striker. You got Jeff Hurst. You'd have to fit. You got Hurst. I mean, Hurst was a brilliant. I thought Pop Robson was. I mean, Hurst will go down in history.
Yeah, he will. Yeah.
Wouldn't he? Obviously, but Pop Robson was a great finisher as well.
Yeah.
If you look at him, a lot of the older school would put him in the side.
And also what you said about you've mentioned him as well. Like when we interviewed Crossy, Pop Robson was a massive influence on him.
Yeah.
Cotty, Pop was a massive influence on him as well. And so it's not just him and the way he played and the goals he scored, but obviously the influence he's made on two West Ham greats as well. So it's like, for me, it's heightened him as a player, to be honest.
Yeah. I did ask Crossy that, actually. I said to him 6 months ago, I asked him a question. I said, who would you say was the best player that you ever played with? Without hesitation, he said Pop Robson.
Yeah.
So, for Crossy to say that, would I pick him? Would I pick Pop in the? Probably not. But I'll give you one name straight away. I'll put in there up front. Tony Cotty.
Tony Cotty.
He's in there.
Yeah.
TC. Look, Forest Gate. At Forest Gate. Blimey. See, if I want to get too technical here, McAvenny, Cotty, 85, 86. Yeah, Cotty was more consistent over a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
If you look at the history, if you get the stats out and have a look, the season after 85, 86, I think Cotty hit another 20 odd goals that season.
Yeah.
Mac only got about 5.
And
that's not to say I'm not knocking McAvenny, because that season alone would probably get him in the side. But Cotty was consistent for that period. He came in against Tottenham, 83, was it?
That's something like, yeah.
Cotty come in for his debut, 1983 against Tottenham at Upton Park. Bang, he scored that goal with the air.
Yeah.
Come off the bar and it was in the back of the net. Brilliant finisher. Only little. Have you met him, Tom?
Yeah, we've had him on the channel as well. Yeah.
He's got that stocky build. He's
and again, it's like you talk about modern.
Deceptive, isn't he?
It is, and you talk about modern football as well. It's like that now. I don't think that anyone in the Premier League. I'm just thinking now, who's that? I mean, Cotty was like an old-fashioned striker, wasn't he? He was a goal. He was a 6. He never scored a goal outside the box. That type of thing. But now you don't get them. It's all forwards like Vardy, and even Ings is not really a strike. That old-fashioned striker anymore. Now it's a different time now. But I mean, he was, just had a knack of scoring. He scored wherever he went. You know what I mean? It's like and obviously he left and he was booed when he came back, and we spoke about that and we interviewed him, and he said how it was the Bobby Moore testimonial match. Or the memorial match when they got someone, and he was introduced to the crowd and they cheered him, and he was like, "I could come back. I could come exactly. We are, aren't we? I could come back here." He said that's basically, and that got the cogs turning.
He went to Everton, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He went to Everton. He got it was a good side.
I'm trying to think when he left. When did he leave West Ham and go to Everton?
I can't remember. If I don't get it, I'll have to
late
look.
80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to look because if TC, because he talk about stats, he's a stickler for his stats.
Yeah,
I thought I had it when I interviewed him.
What he when it was, I think it was around the late 80s. I mean,
he left 88.
88.
Yeah.
I mean, funny enough, Everton was a better side just before that.
Yeah.
If you go back to like 85, 86, they were damn fine sides. Lineker was up front. I think they won the Cup Winners' Cup. I think they were league champions, weren't they? Around that period.
Yeah, around that period. They were very strong.
Very good side, Everton. So, people moan, people slagged off Cotty for going there, but, I think he was looking at winning a few trophies, didn't he?
Yeah. It happens, doesn't it? And obviously he was booed when he came back, and he was like, and I remember we interviewed him, and I was like, "What does that feel like? Your club, your fans, and you come back." He went, "It was horrible." Yeah, he's like, "It was horrible, absolutely horrible." And he says, "But then that Bobby Moore game, and they cheered me, and I thought, I could love to come back if the opportunity came." And we've done it before. We did it before. We've done it afterwards. I remember Tony Carl's testimonial, and John Terry getting cheered. In a West Ham shirt. We're a funny bunch, aren't we?
Did you see the photo I put up of Tony Adams in the West Ham thing?
Yeah. We're a funny bunch, aren't we?
Yeah. Should have made, another one. Cool, he would have been good with Alvin in the middle, wouldn't he?
Yeah. We did when we had Tony Carr. Tony Carr did his 11. It was an academy 11, which basically turned out to be the 2010 World Cup squad. Afterwards, he gone through it because it was like everyone had gone for the academy, and he had like obviously Rio and John Terry in centre backs, and Glenn Johnson and Frank and Carrick and it was like that that team that was still together. God dear, that time of it all breaking up at that period. But
I mean, when you look back on what them players you just talked about there, Harry had them, didn't he? Harry had the.
He did, yeah.
You know what a bunch.
He said he did say when we had him on, we sort of said, you know, we get that golden era, you know, when Tony Carr did his job, and he went, yeah, he says the frustrating thing was he reckons he said I honestly reckon if we kept them all for another year, we'd have been up there that season. We'd have been up there. We'd have won the league.
Story of West Ham, though, isn't it?
But it is that. But then that's what makes us West Ham fans, because we can sit there, as you said, in a pub when we could go to pubs, and just relive what could happen. What would happen if Dean Ashton hadn't broken his leg at playing for England? You know, what happened if Steven Gerrard?
Funny you mentioned Dean Ashton, though.
Yeah.
I put him. Someone was talking to me about. He had everything, you know. If I was to sit there and say, we had one bloke who'd come along and be a really good striker for West Ham United, right? Post Cotties and the McAvenny days, and you know, and all that. Dean Ashton had everything for me. He had both feet. He was good in the air. He was strong. He could hold the ball up. He could do everything. And I thought he was going to go a long, long way.
Me too.
And you know, Bob's your uncle. His ankle. I don't know if he kept coming down on the ankle when he was going for the ball. And then that was it. That was the end of him. I don't know who did he sign from? Where did he come
Norwich.
From? Norwich, wasn't it?
Norwich. Yeah, and he was like, I liken it now to when we signed Bowen. He was like, you know, really. I remember him. I was really excited because he was like a young, hungry English striker, and I agree. He for me, he was the complete striker. He was the most complete striker I've ever seen play for West Ham.
Yeah.
It was like, and you could see him, and they got Bellamy in, and I was looking at it going, this is the new Cotti and McAvenny.
Yeah.
And typical West Ham.
Bellamy and all.
I love Bellamy, but he did well. He got into England squad. Everyone was really happy, and then he gets injured by probably the shortest person ever to play for England, in Shaw Wright Phillips. But it's written into the West Ham tapestry. All the sliding doors moments, you know.
It's always been the way.
Yeah.
We've always frustrating.
Always the bridesmaids. We're always the bridesmaids.
You know, I mean, part of you thinks, being a West Ham supporter, I've been here before.
Yeah. I
should know what's happening.
Yeah.
But, you know, where I live in Camden, you've got all these Arsenal supporters, and it's, you know, they talk about, you know, we need another cup run. You know, give us one of your trophies. I mean,
it's like when they were all moaning that they were 15th in the league, and I was like, to be honest, I'd have bitten someone's hand off if they said you can finish 15th in the league this year. Do you know what I mean? It's
we don't really need a cup run. We'll pull it out because we will, you know, because we're never going to win the league. So, you know, for me to have a cup to get to Wembley, you know, it's been a long time. As I tweeted the other night, you know, when people are moaning, you know, we only beat Stockport 1-0 or whatever, you know, hold on a minute. Do you remember Wimbledon about 3 years ago?
That team, that's something I really, because I'm always a half glass full type bloke. Yeah. And I came out of that Stockport game 3 years ago. We'd lost that game.
Yeah.
No problem. You know, when we drew with Brighton over Christmas,
we
would have lost that game.
Yeah.
And that's what's different about this team. There's that sort of, and there's this sort of ruggedness about us and nastiness, and you know, and obviously the influence of people like Kevin Nolan in that team is self-evident.
You know, when we went 1-0 down, who did we play recently? You know, we went 1-0 down on a penalty.
Yeah.
That's 5 minutes, and everyone on the Twitter and everyone on the Facebook, here we go. You could just see it in the stars, couldn't you? We're 1-0 down, 5 minutes gone. You know, someone's probably injured, you know, and we thought, we're going to have a bad night here. It's going to be a really bad night. We turned out. We held it. We come back. We scored again. I think was it Leeds? I think Leeds away.
Yeah, it was Leeds away. Yeah.
1-0 down in 5 minutes or something. And
Yeah,
like you just said there, the old West Ham would have folded. It would have been, one of them miserable away days when you're coming home 3-0. You know what it used to be like watching us.
Yeah.
But no, we dug in, we come back, and we ended up taking the 3 points.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
That West Ham I ain't seen for a long time.
No, that's what I mean.
That's
what I mean. Everton away. Exactly. That's what I mean. It just seems this sort of rugged determination. It's a bit old school to me. It's a little bit like the way we were. And I think, it's exciting. It's good to watch. It's like there's always, and also, I mean, I remember watching. This wasn't too long ago. I remember watching us lose 3-0 to Leeds, Upton Park. I think Brian Dean and Mike Newell were up front for us, and I think we had no shots on target.
Yeah.
Now we always look like we got a goal in us. We've always looks like we got. It might be Souček. It might be a great cross by Cresswell, and it's enjoyable watching West Ham for the time being. Because there's always that West Hamness in us being. We're 26 points, 10th, and on Twitter the next tweet under is like 16 points to go. It doesn't matter if how we're doing. 16 points to go. It's like, for God's sake, enjoy the fact.
I mean, there was a couple of dodgy team selections recently.
Yeah.
Where we went very defensive against, was it Chelsea? Or was it the one before that? I mean, Chelsea. I mean, in a match, if he was given 200 million for that, they ain't a Chelsea. I thought they were quite poor, Chelsea. To be fair, there's nothing that how we ended up losing that 3-0. I don't know.
No, it flattered them.
He played he played a very defensive system. He's brought Noble into the side. An extra midfielder as such, and a couple of, but the last couple of games he's gone for it, hasn't he? He went for it again. I mean, the side he put out against Stockport was a strong side.
It was, yeah.
I mean, we've beaten some good sides this season.
We have. We really have. When you look at it,
to go to Ellen Road and get a result. Yeah. We've done Wolves quite comfortably. Bogey side. I don't think I've ever watched West Ham win against them.
Leicester away as well. We turned them out, like the 3-0. They never shot on target.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where
it is exciting.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Yeah,
it's a cut run though. But
I think everyone wants to.
I want to see us push on. I mean, people going about the new stadium, the next level, etc. And isn't it nice that that we're not in a dogfight, and it's
exactly enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
It's because Dean. It's because we are West Ham fans, and that's why we can't enjoy it. We can't enjoy it. It's like
we're waiting for
like when you go on holiday, and as soon as you get on holiday, you're thinking, I've got to go in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Only got 2 weeks, and then you're counting down the days left of your holiday because you'll go home in 4 days or 3 days or 2 days or one. Fuck it, enjoy the fact you're on holiday, and it's like with us, enjoy the fact that we're not Sheffield United, Burnley, Fulham, West Brom. So what if there's 4 worse teams? And I don't care. The fact is, I'm 10th, and all going.
See where we can take the side.
Exactly, and I think if we finish 10th is a fantastic improvement. We need to do these baby steps. We went for that seismic change with Pellegrini, as you said. They opened up the checkbook, off you go. It doesn't work. You can buy a beautiful apartment, apartment like Lanzini's got on Instagram, one of them. But if the foundations aren't right, it's going to crumble. And that's the trouble. It was like it's all face with no substance behind it. Now Moyes is doing. It seems that he's building a project together. And
I tell you what, he's. I tell you what, he needs. He needs a medal, because I don't know who made the signings of Souček and Kofol, and if they were Moyes' decisions, but it saved.
It saved the season last.
It saved the season.
Yeah.
Not just that, how can I put this about Moisey? Because obviously a lot of people didn't really want him, manager. Very negative, blah, blah, blah. Why ain't we gone for someone like Pochettino? No. Let him, give him time. He may not be like
he's not a sexy manager, is he? He's not a sexy manager.
He's not a sexy manager. He sets the team up not to lose sometimes, you know. But you look how many goals we've scored. He ain't that bad.
No.
You know, we go 4-0 there. We went, you know, we got 3 back at Tottenham. You know, we've beaten these quite a few decent sides. We've gave a few good runs. And, you know, Arsenal, we got something.
Yeah,
Chelsea, we should have got something. Tottenham, we did, as such. Yeah, and he does set the sides up, but you've got to give him credit and time.
Yeah, you do. And I think also, I think
name manager. You know, you bring in a fancy name manager,
yeah,
give him 100 million to spend, and that was probably the worst manager. The tactical decisions he was doing over there, I was puzzled.
Yeah, and I think also, what people forget, you know, David Moyes, his reputation's tainted by obviously Man United, where I think he was stitched up. Sunderland, which were a sinking ship already. Real Sociedad, but the fact is at Everton, he got them from, in essence, where West Ham were, relegation fodder, to Champions League.
Yeah.
And you can't, and he didn't spend a shitload of money at all. And I know the game's moved on a bit, but the principles are the same. And you're seeing him hit now. And he said he wants to build an Everton, and you can see that's mentality. You know, it's about recruitment. It's about going to the Czech League. It's about getting the younger players in the Championship. And it's not rocket science. And it's about blooding the youngsters in as well. And, you know, obviously we had Mupu came on yesterday, a few on the bench as well. And obviously this, I think we had the Carabao Cup, and there was loads of youngsters playing at the Charlton game and the whole game. It ain't a bad time to be a West Ham fan at the moment.
No.
And more importantly,
Johnson's coming.
Exactly. And Johnson's doing well.
Yeah. Good. I think he's got some talent. Fredericks is all speed, and you know, I mean, you know, will we keep hold of him? I don't. Cresswell's come alive.
Yes,
Oggy's playing probably the best I've seen him in a West Ham shirt for years.
Yeah.
Well, Rice, you know, if we can keep hold of him for, you know, I think it was like a new signing, keeping him this season for an extra year. Don't you think? I mean, you know, if we can get a season more out of Rice, it'll be a miracle. I think he might go on to big, bit better things at once. Yeah. But, you know, Anderson, don't know about if he'll come back from Porto and be half decent.
Someone mentioned.
Would you keep him or would you sell him?
Well, someone mentioned it to me the other day, and I didn't really think about it actually. And probably the last person. Moisey hasn't been able to build his team. He's inherited a team, isn't he?
Yeah.
And to be honest, we've had a lot of ex-players in, like even people like Neil Mellor and people like that, and we had like Freddie Pickey on the other day, and obviously he was signed by Avram Grant, who then left in August, and then taken over by, you know, then Big Sam came in, and so give him time to build his squad. You know, probably the last time I reckon that happened was maybe Slav in that 2015 season. He built his team, didn't he, almost from the ground up. Yeah. So give him time, and I think I think Anderson again. Huh? What's that?
I'm pleased for him.
I am. I'm really pleased for him because he's a good manager.
I said, listen, football is football.
Yeah.
If he goes 10 games and we don't win, he'll be sacked, and another man will come in. You know, that's football. That's modern football. Yeah. You know, that's the way. You know, Sullivan will probably put his finger. You know, if you fall from bottom and you're sitting on TV revenues, you know, and you're fucking dreading the big line, you've got loans here, there, and everywhere, and blah blah blah. Pull the plug now. You know, you see it in the Premiership all the time.
Yeah.
The bottle goes in a lot of these chairmen, and they get rid of him, and half of them don't work. You know, when they get rid of these managers, you know, like, I mean, what happened to Bilic and Dixie at West Brom?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's disgraceful. These chairmen just go, right, off you go. Bring in a foreign manager no one's ever heard of, right? Fancy name, right? And you think, well, who's he? Oh, he's done really well at Seville, or he's done really well at, you know, Schalke, right? We shouldn't have got rid of more, you know. What's happened is happened, but we shouldn't have got rid of Moyes in the first place, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, he's come in twice, and he's done his job twice, and he kept us up twice.
That's it. That's enough to keep the job. And good luck to him. I mean, we
Yeah.
like you say, we need a striker. I don't know how long we got till to the end of the month. I'm totally gone on.
It's the 12th today. I think it's the 12th today.
I
So yeah,
really,
this
I'm
will go out
totally
a
lost
few days
track.
later. Yeah. But also, more importantly, speaking of strikers, Dean, you need to pick one striker.
I've missed my last one. The last striker I will go for
is David Di Michele. Who is it?
No, I listen. I like Di Canio, and I probably put, and it was if I was to choose, I would have gone Di Canio, but because Cotty played with McAvenny, I'd have to play the two of them together.
Yeah, they come as a pair.
So it would be Cotty and McAvenny, and I'd put Di Canio on the bench, and Jeff Pike. That would be.
And Pike.
The reason I picked them two is because that season 85-86 was the best season.
Yeah.
I got a ticket for Everton away, and it was a Monday night game. And that the weekend just before, we were going for the title. Can you believe that? Liverpool had Chelsea. Liverpool went to Chelsea, and we were still in the title hunt. I mean,
mental.
If you talk to the youngsters today, they would never believe it. But we was in the title race up until probably the last cut. I mean, I could sit there and have a chat with you all night about why the weather and the games that we had to play 3 in a week, basically 2 in a week or whatever it was back then, because of the weather forecast fixtures. And we had that backlog that we had to fill.
It's a bit like now, really. It's a bit like now, really, isn't it? Really thinking about it. I mean, you see today when they announced yesterday that Fulham are playing Tottenham tomorrow in 48 hours notice and stuff. Yeah, it's cyclical, isn't it? But you're right. We had such a backlog of games we had to play, and we were winning them all, weren't we? We were doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Hurst, you've got brilliant, absolute Di Canio, what a player. Paul Goddard, another good player.
Yeah.
But if I was to say for the sheer buzz of that season where I was going home and away all around the country watching West Ham, Chelsea away, what a day that was at Stamford Bridge when we beat them in March, I think 86, the two of them would have to play up front. So that would be nice. So it would be Parks, Stewart, Martin, Moore, Lampard, Devonshire, Bonds, Brooking, Peters, Cotty and McAvenny. So
not bad. Not bad. Sounds good. Good.
That's me 11.
Dean, man, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Really loved it.
Yeah. And listen, I just do that. I do the football thing for the love of it, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And make sure everyone, and if guys you're on Twitter and you like to see some pictures, we'll put it up on there. But obviously, it's Irons Photoshop. Check it out because it's great. Just because I think there's so many old pictures and stuff, and
they're great. Aren't they?
They are great. I mean, obviously, I was never around to see it, and it's like sometimes I remember
a few of the other ones for the for the younger generation. They go up. I put a few up to Dixie and blah blah blah, and Di Canio, obviously, what a player he was. Yeah. But thanks anyway. It was great to speak to you.
And thank you to everyone for watching. Obviously, everyone like, share, subscribe, wherever it is. But for me and Dean, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Come on, you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Mate.